It wasn't long, and I started auditing business owners. And these were the very people I wanted to help. Remember, I was sitting in that accounting firm, or whatever you want to call it, the tax firm, that time at 18, and I wanted to take those people out because they were screwing over the taxpayers by not telling them the things that they could do to pay less tax.
So if you are an entrepreneur, if you have your own business and you need your taxes done, because let's face it, we all stick our head in the sand when it comes to taxes, you need to talk to Carlotta. Carlotta, tell us a little bit of like the backstory. Where did you come from that you love taxes? Because most people, when they hear the word taxes, run the other way. Instead, you get excited. So tell us a little bit about how you got there.
All right, so do you remember like the little booklets that used to come in the mail that would tell you how to prepare your taxes? Like your parents might have had them. They were like, they said 1040 on it, and it was the instruction booklet, okay? Well, this little booklet came in the mail, and it was laying on the bar at my parents' house. And one day I walked in after school, and I was like, what's this? And my dad's like, you should read that. And I was like, okay. And I started reading it. And then I started geeking out on it, and I started getting excited. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. I love this stuff. This is so neat. I loved the money before. Like I was a worker. I have grown up in my family's business. And this was just like, oh my gosh. So at 14, I started studying tax law. At 18, I went into a big box accounting firm, or whatever you want. Really, it's just a tax prep firm. And they were doing my boyfriend's taxes at the time, and they said, you know, this is your refund. And I was like, wait, I already did this, because I wanted to see like how, if I knew what I was doing. So I'd already figured it out, and I was like, wait, I didn't get that number. Like I got more of a refund. I was like, what if you did this and changed that and did this? He would get more money back. And they were like, oh my gosh, well, first they had to call the manager in, because obviously this little person putting the information in on the computer had no clue what was going on. They were like, oh my gosh, that's right. Like, and this lady had been there for 25 years. And the one that was doing the return, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't wait to work for the IRS, because these people are going down. Like, we're going to, like, this is ridiculous. Even they were going to bring him like $2,000. So anyways, I was like, this is ridiculous. They need more training. But either way, they were like, you should come to work here. And I was like, really? Like, what does it take to come to work here? And they were like, oh, it's just this 3-day class. I was like, 3 days? And I could be a tax professional? Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So anyways, I go to there. I actually taught part of their class, because the person teaching it had no clue. And so I'm like, I start working there. So for a few years, I worked there while I'm in college. But all the time, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to work at the IRS, because like these accountants, they need, you know, that obviously I didn't know they weren't accountants. I thought everyone was an accountant, right? Like I didn't realize there was a difference at the time. So I applied right out of school, and at the IRS, because I knew I wanted to work there. It took me 2 years to get on, and between that time, because they don't hire but like every 15 years or something in our area. In between that time, I went into public accounting, and then that day I got the call, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my lifelong dream, and I finally get to interview. And so I went on the interview, and I got the job, and I was like, I'm never leaving this place, okay? This is like the epitome of what I wanted to be. Well, it wasn't long, and I started auditing business owners. And these were the very people I wanted to help. Remember, I was sitting in that accounting firm, or whatever you want to call it, the tax firm, that time at 18, and I wanted to take those people out because they were screwing over the taxpayers by not telling them the things that they could do to pay less tax, essentially.
I mean, especially for entrepreneurs, right? Because we're the ones we're bootstrapping everything. Like,
exactly. Like we are the ones that are making this economy run. Like we are the ones paying the taxes. We're the ones that are making employees have money to pay taxes on. Like entrepreneurs need to pay the least tax legally possible. And so I wanted to work at the IRS so I could help business owners and help people, right? So I thought that's what the IRS was. I mean, honestly, I was an idiot, but I didn't know that. So I was like, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a change. Like, I'm going into the IRS, and like, I feel like I'm really going to make a difference.
Hang on, I'm gonna make a difference in the IRS. I love it. Please, I mean, you had to be like 21, 22.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a difference. The IRS is going to be different because I am here.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I thought. Like, I was like, I'm going to change the world, okay? Or at least the U.S. Like, I really thought that I could make that kind of difference. But it wasn't soon after that, the IRS definitely has a place. It's needed, right? Like, I don't down them for that. They expect you when you start your business to hire an accountant. They don't say, hey, Carlotta, you just started a business. This is what we expect of you. No, they expect you to go hire an accountant. And accountants, for the most part, are just trying to do as many returns as possible in the amount of time that they have. And so, they're trying to do thousands of returns, and they don't have time to say, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you can save money. These are the strategies that you should do. I mean, they don't have time to do all of that because their systems are not set up for that. Their systems are set up for compliance, not to be helpful. And so anyways, I went to work at the IRS. I audited small businesses. I ruined a lot of their lives. One day I was sitting across from one of my taxpayers, and he said, Carlotta, when I started this business, I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I went and hired the best accountant in town. I, read up on some stuff. I thought I was doing all of this correctly. He said, you're about to give me a bill that is going to ruin my business. Okay, when you grow up in a family of business owners, do you know how that feels? This guy had tears welling up in his eyes. I mean, I'm about to ruin his life and his business because he can't pay this bill. And I know how cash flow is in a business. It was like a $40,000 or $50,000 tax bill. That's a lot for a business owner that only makes a profit of $40,000 or $50,000 a year. So those words stung, and he looked at me and he said, the IRS should make it mandatory that you take a business tax course before you ever start a business. So Carlotta had already felt like she was ruining lives every day. So I went and started a ministry at night helping business owners, helping them with taxes, doing it totally for free just to help. From there, I started thinking about this, and I was like, I have to help, but how do I help? Because at this point I knew there was no changing the IRS, but I never wanted to leave there because I loved my job. So then I went into another audit. It was terrible. A few years later, it was an employee. He had gotten mixed up with the MLM that told him he could write off all this stuff. And at the end of the day, he was going to have a $50,000 tax bill. And he made, as an employee, $40,000 a year. Okay, he was a blue-collar worker. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I left before I could finish his audit. So I say all of that to say, like, having a professional that cares and that can help you and that cares more about you, like that treats how much money you're paying as they would their own, is so important. That's probably the biggest lesson I learned at the IRS.
Well, so you left the IRS and you started your tax preparer, and I can imagine that there is a huge like everybody in the world, I know myself included, I'm like, taxes, like it's hard enough for me to add like 2 and 2 and 2 together and get any number at all. Like I end up in like La La Land. I come up with an idea that I want to go do, right? I'm like, hey, let's go do this. I'll build a car. That doesn't answer the math problem.
That's what all entrepreneurs do. They just they go act, and then they're like, oh, but wait, I've got to do all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't believe the number of entrepreneurs that actually go a long time without filing. And then they get to the point, I've had people get on a call with me and they'll be suicidal because they're so sick they cannot sleep because they're so scared the IRS is going to put them in jail. And if that is you, please do not feel like that. That is not going to happen. Get on a call with me. I can calm you in a matter of minutes. That is not life. I mean, obviously you need to pay your taxes, but it's not that serious.
You're the
Yes,
tax
it's
whisperer.
serious. Yeah, that's what I've actually been called that before. That yeah, you just, I mean, yes, it's serious, and yes, you need to pay, but you can fix this. It's some people feel like it's so bad they can't fix it.